Before you take that next breath, these are 10 forgotten futuristic American cars from the 60s you've never seen. You know, the cars they made us love but never put on the market. Ford Seattleite E21 concept car, 1962. The Ford Seattleite XXI was to be displayed at the Seattle's World Fair in 1962, and the American company wanted their car to stand out. After months of sifting through endless designs, the company's designer, Alex Tremulous, came to the rescue. The car was a spectacle to behold. Like something from the future, the car came with 6 wheels. The front of the car contained 4 steerable wheels and 2 fixed ones at the rear. This design was similar to the fictional 6-wheel 1965 FAB1. The body was also interchangeable, meaning it could break into compartments and could be turned into an economical city runabout or a powerful transcontinental cruiser if there's need for it. Innovative ideas that seemed far-reached at the time but have since become reality, like interactive computer navigation, mapping, and auto information systems, were present in the car. But that's not all. The car also included some form of compact nuclear propulsion device as a possible power source, on the presumption that radiation issues could be conquered without the need for huge bulky shielding. All control mechanisms were through flexible couplings, and the steering was done with a fingertip control dial. When it was showcased at the World Fair on April 20th, 1962, the audience were mind-blown. Who wouldn't be? Even if this was showcased in the present day, it would still be quite the star. But if you thought that was great, you should really check out the next. Lamborghini 350 GTV, 1963. Ferruccio Lamborghini was a man who knew exactly what he wanted, and sometimes his needs could be hard to satisfy. In the early 1960s, Ferruccio got tired of his Ferrari's constant troubles, so he decided to build his own car, and that was the birth of Lamborghini's Tractor Factory. By 1963, they had a car to showcase. Lamborghini was the new kid on the block, and the company needed to make a grand entrance. That was exactly what they did at the 1963 Turin Auto Show. The car that was introduced was the Lamborghini 350 GT. This beauty was Ferruccio's baby, as his opinion had a significant amount of influence on the design. He had asked for the styling of the rear to imitate that of the Aston Martin DB4, and the sleek front should be like that of the Jaguar E-Type. However, they also introduced some styling details that were quite uncommon at the time. We're talking hidden lamps for exhaust tailpipes, 2 on each side of the car's rear. The body was also made with aluminum and steel. For the engine, Ferruccio had Giotto Bizzarini take the lead. After several trials and errors, the 350 GTV got a 3.5-liter racing specification V12 engine. That's because it was derived from a 1.5-liter Formula One racing engine plan that could give off an output of 342 bhp at 8,000 rounds per minute and torque of 326 Nm. All this power amounted to a top speed of 170 miles per hour. When it was showcased at the show, it received both positive and negative remarks. The positive remarks boosted Ferruccio's confidence in the car's potential, and the negative remarks helped the engineers make the necessary adjustment. But one thing was for sure: Lamborghini entered the automobile market with a bang. In the end, the 350 GTV did not go further than the prototype because the chassis couldn't really cover the engine. The car ended up in the storage at the Lamborghini's factory, and in the 1980s it was sold to a car dealer who had the car modified. It was later sold to a Japanese collector. However, it found its way back to its home in the Lamborghini Museum. The car had interesting features, but this next car took a village to build. Ghia G230S Prototipo, 1963. Ghia was a pro at bodying cars. They had successfully done so for American and Italian cars, and decided it was time to start producing their own cars. The Ghia G230S was one of the first cars to be completed by the company. However, they sought the help of the locals. Initially, they used a Fiat 2300S platform with upgraded components, but they soon realized that the chassis was too basic and decided to switch sides. So the company reached out to Ghia, who had designed and built chassis for Ferrari. The design the engineer opted for was a Maserati birdcage concept that was simply outstanding. The components used in the vehicle were engine, disc brakes, gearbox, and axles were from Fiat, but the heavy upgrade was done by Abarth. Ghia had plans to continue production, so they chose to work with companies like Fiat and Abarth that were sustainable. However, After the first G230S appeared at the Turin Motor Show in 1963 and some other international shows, production was halted. It probably didn't meet the company's expectations. But design-wise, it was a game-changer. The birdcage design was a sight to behold. Don't you agree? You could still find one in its completely original condition, as it was displayed as recent at the Retromobile show in 2008. The Ghia didn't make it to production, but this next car easily did so. Pontiac Banshee Concept Car, 1964. The 1964 XP 883 Pontiac Banshee I concept was John DeLorean's baby, and he wanted it in production, so he made sure to put in his all. DeLorean's design team came up with two functional cars and named them the Mustang Fighter. One car was a two-passenger fiberglass coupe that had a sweeping hood and a short rear deck. It was fueled by a straight six-cylinder, overhead cam engine paired to a four-speed automatic transmission. It was coated with metallic silver, got a red interior, and weighed about 2,200 pounds. The other vehicle was a pearlescent white, two-passenger roadster fitted with a 326 SID V8 engine. At the time, the third-generation Corvette was already being designed, and the Banshee took some inspiration from the design. A few things that separated the Banshee from the Corvette included the former's solid rear axle, to reduce costs and make the car more affordable. It also got a unique clamshell door design. The two concepts of the Banshee had so much potential because it was fitted with the right components. However, when General Motors executives viewed the concepts, they found out to be too much of a threat to the Corvette and, as a result, asked DeLorean to shut down production. This might not have come as a surprise to DeLorean because GM wanted the Corvette to be their star performer. Even today, models such as the Camaro and Firebird, even though got the same engine as the Corvette, had their engines slightly detuned to make it less of a competition. The Banshee would have given off equal ponies as the Corvette, yet weighed less, making it a real competition. It could also reach 60 miles per hour in second gear. After the executives had the production shut down, they compensated DeLorean by allowing a direct successor to be developed, the XP 858. But it wasn't as remarkable as the first. The Banshee's concept still exists today and is in the hands of private collectors. Imagine how exceptional the Banshee would have been if it had gotten into production. Unfortunately, this next car from General Motors didn't also shine in all its glory. Cadillac XP 840 Eldorado Fastback, 1965. The Cadillac XP 840 Eldorado Fastback was way ahead of its time. It was one of those unknown cars that inspired future models. Initially, the car was to be a V16 two-seater, made of two V8 engines, which is why the front end was excessively long. But it never saw the light of the day, so that plan didn't come to fruition. How intriguing would it have been? The Eldorado featured many firsts, like the absence of a rear window. Instead, it got a mall opening that was supposed to be for a rear-facing TV camera. The windshield was V-shaped and continued all the way to the back section of the canopy. The double-notch beltline and rear panel, which were concealed between the rear fender lines, ended up being some of Cadillac's unique design elements. Although this vehicle never got into production because in reality, Cadillac didn't need a V12 or a V16 car, and the project was mostly for fun. But future models like the 1967 Eldorado got cues from the 1965 Eldorado Fastback. That's quite legendary. This next car was also quite glamorous. We wouldn't expect anything less from Lamborghini. Lamborghini 400 GT Monza, 1966. After the 350 GTV stunned the world at the 1963 Turin Auto Show, the engineers at the Italian factory began working tirelessly to get a production car on the road. By 1966, they came up with the 400 GT. This car had the critics in awe, and they just couldn't stop with the praise. It's for this reason Lamborghini decided to go a step further and produce a race-worthy vehicle. This led to the birth of the 400 GT Monza. The vehicle was a one-off two-seater Gran Turismo that was inspired by the 400 GT Interim, featuring unique bodywork by the shop of Neri and Bonaccini, who were already previously known for their work on the Nimbo series of Ferraris. Neri and Bonaccini have been instructed to create a one-off two-seater sports car based on a 350 GT chassis, number 01030, and a 400 GT V12 engine. With possibly an American client who intended to race at the 24 Hours of Le Mans in mind, they set to work. The aluminum body was hand-built in the shop, and after many alterations, they came up with a distinctive fastback with a long hood and calm tail. The designers incorporated a roll bar into the extremely thick C-pillar, which might have increased the rollover safety but compromised rearward visibility. Other details included a very low and raked windshield, protruding but non-functional air vent grills behind the front wheels, and magnified 400 Monza badging. Overall, the design was very similar to other contemporary Italian sports cars, like the Bizzarrini 5300 GT Strata. However, this car never got to the American customer because of homologation issues, so it was never raced. It was instead displayed at the 1967 Barcelona Motor Show on the Lamborghini importer Amato stand, and later ended up in the home of a wealthy Spaniard. Despite its inability to race, it was certainly something from the future. We surely can say the same about this next car. Ferrari 365P Berlinetta Speciale, 1966. In 1966, Pininfarina and Ferrari collaborated to design a concept sports car for the year's auto show circuit. And what they came up with was the Ferrari 365P Berlinetta Speciale, also commonly known as the Berlinetta Tre Posti, 3-seater. This car had a mid-engine layout of a donor racing car chassis and 3-seat arrangement with a central driving position, which later became popular on McLaren F1. And it was the first ever purpose-built, mid-engined, non-racing Ferrari-branded car. But that wasn't the only reason it stood out. The exterior design was a bit based on the already existing road-going Dino concept, which was revealed a year earlier. The mid-engine chassis was covered with an aluminum body. However, its most unusual feature was the triple seating, in which the driver was situated in the center, slightly forward, with the other two seats slightly back. The center-mount windshield wiper on the car was taken from the donor race car. Other luxury additions like leather seats, carpets, chrome bumpers, and fittings were new, and additional features included a full fixed perspex sunroof, originally installed on one of the examples, which was highly advanced at the time. Overall side profile and details like a visible fuel cap, tear-shaped air vents were just like that of the Dino counterparts. Because of the many similarities to the production Dino 206 GT, the Berlinetta Speciale is often regarded as an upgraded version of the original Dino and its predecessor, presented at the same time as the Dino Berlinetta GT final prototype in 1966. The Berlinetta Speciale was indeed special, and even till today we'd result in stares from the crowd. But it might not get as much stares as this next car. Lincoln Futura Batmobile by Barris Custom, 1966. From its name, Lincoln Futura Batmobile, you'd guess that it was made to suit the needs of Batman. And you know the superhero had a very peculiar taste. The story of the Lincoln Futura dates back to 1955, when designer Bill Schmidt had an encounter with a shark. With the fish as inspiration, he set to work. The Futura styling was just like any other that existed in the 1950s, with a double, clear plastic canopy top, huge hooded headlight pods, and very large, outward-tilted tail fins. Despite being a show car, the Futura had a complete powertrain and could be driven. Its original color was a pearlescent white that Bill Schmidt had ordered Ghia to incorporate with the scales of fish. To achieve this, they had ground the scales of thousands of fish and mixed them into the paint. With the success of the Lincoln Futura in the 50s came the inspiration to change it to a Batmobile. The movie crew wanted an exceptional car as the Batmobile and were stuck on which to go for. After intensive search, they stumbled upon Gord's Lincoln Futura. However, they needed the car to be so much more. So they reached out to Barry Customs. With 3 weeks as the deadline, the customization expert came up with something never before seen. Weighing 5,500 pounds, the car comes with a completely hand-formed steel body. It is powered by a 429 Ford full race engine, moon-equipped, nitro oxide thrust. But that isn't the juiciest bit. Its front-end design has the face of a bat with the hood scoop extending down into the frontal area, highlighting the nose. Right and left eyes protrude into the ears with dual 450-watt laser beams installed in amber reflective lenses. Just behind the ears are functional headlights for normal street driving. The grille cavity is the mouth of the bat with the internal mounted rockets. 284-inch rear bat fins are in line with bulletproof steel for the protection of Batman and Robin. Usable red reflective tail lights are fixed to the rear of the bat fins. In the interior is a dash equipped with many different Batman novel features, such as the Batscope that has a revolving closed-circuit antenna to allow the Batman to have full vision with the Bat-Eye switch for anti-theft control, among several others. This car was certainly too cool for the 60s, and it's still too cool till date. Riding in a Batmobile would be great, but what do you think of riding in a Beetle? This next car is literally one. Alfa Romeo Carabo, 1968. At the 1968 Paris Motor Show, several cars were on display, but one by Alfa Romeo particularly caught the world's attention. The Alfa Romeo Carabo, which means Beetle, got its name due to its similarities to the Carabidi beetles, most especially its green and orange color. It took just 10 weeks for Bertone to create the Carabo, and it featured fiberglass bodywork. The car was never intended for production, but was made to be fully operable and had unique features such as its scissor doors, being the first known vehicle to have them. The Carabo was one of the first wedge-shaped designs by the great Gandini, who would later go on to design cars such as the Lamborghini Countach and helped set the trend of wedge-shaped supercars and concept cars of the 70s. The prototype was built on the chassis of an Alfa Romeo 33 Stradale, which is powered by a mid-mounted 2.0-liter V8 engine mated to a 6-speed Colati manual transmission. The Carabo engine made 230 bhp at 8,800 rpm and 200 Nm of torque at 7,000 rpm. So this bad boy could reach a top speed of 250 km per hour. For this car, you don't need to know about its engine or check out some other features before knowing it's one of a kind. One look is all it takes. So, we'll be asking a second time, would you like to ride in a Beetle? If it's no to the Beetle, you might say yes to the Hurricane, which comes up next. Holden Hurricane, 1969. Engineers at Holden wanted to study design trends, propulsion systems, and other long-range developments, so they decided to design a car to aid this research. This led to the birth of the Hurricane. The Hurricane was just 990 millimeters tall and was brought to life by a mid-mounted high-compression 253 cubic inch Holden V8 engine, the prototype of this engine, producing 259 horsepower. The Hurricane did not come with regular doors. Instead, a hydraulically powered canopy swung forwards over the front wheels like something from the future, and the seats rose up and tilted forward to raise the driver. Cool, no? Other features included Pathfinder, which was a sort of guide for the driver. It made use of magnetic signals built into the road to guide the driver. There were also digital instrument displays, automatic temperature control air conditioning called ComfortRun, an auto-seek radio function, and a rear-view camera, which was made up of a wide-angle camera in the rear bumper attached to a closed-circuit television, CCTV, screen in the center console. You can agree that the Holden Hurricane was indeed advanced, and using such a car for research purposes was a smart move. If you take a look at these cars from the Ford Seattleite XXI Concept CAR to the Holden Hurricane, you'd see that they have one common, exceptional, and innovative design. Which cars do you think we missed, and which cars would you like to see us to do next? Let us know in the comments.